Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome back to Brown Bag Bets, powered by BetSperts. We are your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. I'm Alex Christensen, and joining me, as always, Mr. Andy Molitor. Big weekend of sports, a ton of NBA yesterday. I enjoyed that quite a bit. The college basketball. The first game was entertaining, I guess. The second game was, well, I'm glad that was the second game because I didn't feel compelled to stay up and watch all of it. But what did you have your eye on this weekend?
Yeah, no, the first game was good. I liked SDSU. I've to put a real good cap on like my season, I guess. So both of my pregame bets lost, which is about how things have gone. But I did hit some SDSU second half. That was let's say it came down to it. It was just a beautiful. I think they needed to lose by one or two. Losing by three would have been a push. So when they went down the court there, I'm just like, oh man, how is this going to overtime? Like it's a foul and they make one free throw and I still find a way to lose this goddamn bet. But it was nice. I didn't think he was going to get a shot off. That was my take. Your brain works faster than your mouth or anything, and you're thinking things in real time. And when he got caught down in the corner there in the SDSU game and he kind of dribbled his way out, and I looked at the clock and I'm like, this is Wisconsin all over again. He's not even going to get a goddamn shot off. And when it went in, I made some noises that startled my children. And my mom just said, "Your dad probably made some money. That's what happened there. That's why he yelled." So it wasn't a big bet, but it was nice to get that second half. And then, yeah, after a little bit, I didn't even pay attention. I didn't make it to halftime. The other one, I watched about the first half of that game, and then I watched the second half of the women's game, which was, I mean, it would be mildly annoying to watch if you're an Iowa fan, a Caitlin Clark fan, or just didn't like Kim Mulkey, which is pretty widely held thought process because she's an absolute, I mean, just a scowling troll. But
Loved it.
it was wild. It was wild to see just LSU's mid-range shit. Anything they took, like mid-range, was just dropping, and it wasn't like, oh, it bounced around and went in. Like a ton of stuff from up on the key was just falling. And what are you going to do when the other team's shooting everything like that? They're getting that inside press. Reese inside was just cutting, and then he ended up with a, I don't know what her name was, like the Beef O'Brady Bowl or whatever. That's like O'Grady. I think she was in foul trouble. The other big got fouled out early. Clark had foul trouble early, so turned into a whole thing. But it was a good game, and yeah, there was the whole this thing. Which, Jesus, Twitter, like, get your shit together. Like not everything has to be so binary. Like either you're wrong and I'm right, or like everybody can be a little wrong. Like, yes, we should shit talk more. Shit talk's fun. No, what Caitlin Clark did a couple games ago is not the same thing. That was an absolute like false equivalency that people were trying to push. Like, yes, she did do some shit talking, and she's a great shit talker. But like what the LSU girl Reese did was a lot more over the top. But I was there for it. Fuck it, it's a final. Like how many
How
how
shit
many of these are
talking
you gonna
goes. You
see?
climb the ladder.
Yeah, and I
She
mean
won.
there was the shot of Clark just absolutely big dicking the SC girl, where she was out there to take a three and Clark just said, "I'm not going to guard you." Like, Clark in her own way has been a bit of a shit talker. So it was fun. I had fun. I enjoyed the game. It was crazy how like the scoring went. I don't know what the total was. I'm assuming it went over by about 40 points though, because Jesus Christ, they got,
187.
yeah, LSU got to a hundy in that one. Fun, and yeah, we get one more college basketball game tonight. I guess it was a closer line, and I wish it weren't a team that keeps winning by 20. But I'm gonna watch it anyway, and I'm gonna hope for some defense. I placed a small bet on the under. I think I like this better than the 7.5. If I could see anything going right for San Diego State, they've been great, but they've won a lot of close games against probably lesser competition. Whereas, UConn, there's a long tail to them just beating the tar out of another team. There's a long tail to the 7.5 never being in question. Whereas I think you could end up with a 15-point win where it still ends up it still ends up being under the posted total. Especially if you see, I mentioned this to someone on the timeline this morning, like what SDSU did with Miller and Bama first half there. That was like a under 50-point first half against Bama. This SDSU defense is actually super legit. It's the offense I am worried about. So if their defense steps up and really is able to limit UConn, and I don't think there's any question UConn's defense is crazy good. You saw huge stretches of Miami just not getting anything, Gonzaga not getting anything. I think both defenses step up. And yeah, if I'm wrong, this is a blowout. This isn't, oh, this is both teams just made everything. I don't think you see a track meet in this one where SDSU is competitive. If I'm wrong, it's because UConn put 80 on them or something along those lines. So hopefully we get some D tonight. That's the only one I'll be betting. I'll be looking for some people that I trust to give me a prop or two, maybe a prize picks play or something. But it is weird. I don't know who made this comment, but somebody was mad at how early the women's final started.
Yeah.
He's like, why does it start at like lunch and then the men's final starts at like midnight? He's like, can't we find a happy medium for both of these? Which is, yeah, for sure.
It still bothers me that the men's final is on Monday. And like, I get it's always been on Monday, but like, just do Friday, Sunday. Do us all a freaking favor.
Yeah. I know. And it's funny too. I've mentioned him before on the show, but a guy I work with at work is from Ireland. He has some knowledge of U.S. sports, but he's mostly a Gaelic football guy. And he was working on some SEO stuff. And he says, why is this the national? This is the biggest game. This is the final game. This is the championship for all the marbles. He's like, why the hell is it on a Monday? I said, I don't have an answer for that. That's how it always been. So they go Saturday for the Final Four and then Monday for the championship. That's just why it is. I actually have, if somebody has a legit answer for that, I would love to hear it because I thought about it for a second. I hate well, that's how we've always done it. Like, that's the worst thing you can hear anywhere, especially in the workplace. But Christ, I have no idea. It's just because it's how we've always done it. So here's to Monday. Here's to Masters Week. And here's to Bogota. We're heading to, are there two Charlestons or are we just doing one this year?
I think there's just one Charleston this year. It's always hard to tell in the WTA, but let me see quickly here. How many Charlestons do we have? I think just the one, but we'll see. It could change. There might be a Charleston 125K. Anything's possible.
Anything is possible.
But tennis continues. It persists no matter what happens in the world. And this is kind of an interesting transition week. We're going to move into clay season here. And that happens in sort of two ways. You can go down to South America and play in Bogota, Colombia, which is very high altitude, very slow courts, in terms of the clay. But the ball moves again because you're up so high. Just an absolute brutal conditions unless you're just a peak athlete there. Or you go to Charleston and play on green clay, which is somewhere between clay, somewhere between hard court. I argue with people about this a little bit, but it's not that thick, red, heavy clay. There is, a little more firmer of a surface to be on there. So
yeah, it's a bit smoother. From what I've seen, it does not play. You're not picking up as much with the ball. It's smoother, and the ball is going to move a lot faster on this. It's actually I enjoy this. It's a fun surface.
It is. The Charleston tournament's been pretty good. We had a lot of success there last year. And then we go into European clay season. We'll have Stuttgart and then Madrid and St. Malo and a Spanish tournament, Rome, and then the French Open, which I'm sure you've heard of there. So it's a fun part of the year. But this is an odd week. You don't have a lot of big names playing. So try to be careful this week. Could be a little tougher to find lines. Not everybody had everything for Bogota. So let's jump into it here. I've got 3 bets, and already you're going to see how kind of a weirder week it is with that second one. But we're going to start here with Alina Svitolina. You might remember her. She last played tennis about a year ago in Miami, took a year off to get married and have a baby, which is really wonderful, but has come back. This will be her first tournament here and is someone that I'm not too worried about her needing to really build up into any kind of form. She's someone that generally is very physically fit. If you've been sort of paying attention to her social media a little bit, you go back, she looks like she's in good shape. She's a very smart tennis player and goes up against Yulia Putintseva, who, with all due respect, is someone that really just tries to outwork people, tries to force people to make mistakes, generally does not have the kind of talent to take over a match. And Putintseva is a 4.5, almost 5 game favorite, depending on where you look. She's minus 300 on the money line. So give me Svitolina here. This is a really hard match to handicap. Again, she hasn't played an entire year. It's kind of a surface change, but Putintseva has not been playing good tennis by any stretch. Svitolina has actually played her 8 times already in her career, 6-2, with those losses only really coming in retirements or kind of odd spots here. So I like Svitolina. This is a great tournament for her to come in, get back, start to get some points, reestablish herself a little bit. This is an opponent that, again, if she was even close to solid form, would probably be a favorite here. So give me plus 240. And then I wanted to play over 2.5 sets in Sasnovich Kenin, but the options were few and far between. And everywhere I looked, over 2.5 sets was, plus 130, plus 135, but I was able to find it over 23. Some offshores have this. Bovada is where I found it. Again, if you have over 2.5 sets plus 140, somewhere in that range, go ahead and take that. But this is kind of the best bet I could find. Over 23 here, plus 135. Again, it's effectively over 2.5 sets. I was willing to take a little bit less of a price here because they can hit it in two, 7-6, 6-4 kind of thing. You're looking at a push. I mean, that'd have to be kind of an ATP match, but I expect this to be a battle. Sasnovich and Kenin have played some very competitive matches the few times they have played. Both of them playing okay tennis, but neither one of them really dominant here. I think you're looking at two players. It's basically going to be that Spider-Man meme for most of the match with the two of them just sort of pointing at each other. So find over 2.5 sets if you have it. My option was over 23 games at plus 135. Again, a plus 130 or better on over 23. If you got over 2.5 sets, I was hoping for a plus 140. Something in that range, you should be good. And then Bogota, as I mentioned, an odd tournament. This is one where if you go back and look historically, 2 or 3 women really dominate this event, and 2 of them play here this afternoon and are much shorter favorites than I had them. We'll start with Nuria Parisas Diaz. When outrights reopen this afternoon, well, probably tonight or tomorrow morning, if you can find some NPD at 6.5, 7-1 to win the tournament, she's going to be a huge favorite pretty much all the way through. And she's minus 275 against Francesca Jones. Had this closer to 350. Sarah Sorabis Tormo pretty much makes the quarterfinals every time she plays here. Is minus 195 against Aliona Balsova. I actually like Balsova quite a bit and is someone I like to back, but this should be closer to 250. So put the two together, you get plus 105. Again, I would have this closer to like minus 125, minus 130, given on some of the prices that I had. So a parlay, an over 2.5 sets / an alt over, depending on what your books offer, and Alina Svitolina in her first match back.
I was gonna say it has been a while. I kind of forgot she did the whole maternity leave, but yes, and there's not, we'll drag on people who just bet on trends and bullshit like that, but there has been, out of anything in tennis, besides probably surface and surface changes, but altitude for sure matters to some players. And there are players that year in, year out are able to go to these tournaments in the Alps in Austria, or especially the ones down here in South America, and play well. The men's side had the just shining example until they got rid of the tournament. And also the guy's probably 40 at this point, but there was a tournament called Quito. I don't even know which country, Ecuador, I believe. I could be wrong. Probably am wrong, but Victor Estrella Burgess was known as the king of Quito. That guy didn't do shit anywhere else. He was a decent clay player. He'd be okay, but he'd go up there and just win that thing. And I don't know if he just had an oversized heart or oversized lungs, but altitude did not affect that guy like it affected other people. So, yeah, he was. I don't think he ever lost a match in Quito. To tell the truth, I think he entered it like 4 times, won it 4 times. That was just it, or something stupid like that, where he just never lost, and then they got rid of the tournament, so he was able to ride in the sunset, retired. But Quito's a little higher, but Bogota's still like 8,500 feet up. So fun. This will be a fun one. Maybe you could pick someone who has terrible cardio and just bet against them. That'd be a fun match to watch, as they are just struggling with life up there in the mountains. Quito is in Ecuador. God damn it, Dan. That's awesome.
You did it.
I nailed one today.
I'm trying to see if I can find how many times he won this event, but
Quito is in Ecuador. Augusta is in Georgia. And it is Masters Week. We're going to have some fun content around that. Obviously, the normal show tomorrow with Noonan talking about betting the DFS show on this channel with basically anybody who's talking DFS, whether it's Daigle, Ron, Byron, all those guys will get into the short field. It's a fun week for DFS with the short field, having only the 89 golfers, 88 now, Aaron Wise withdrawing, to double check that. But odds are out. It's Masters week, and we will even have an extra special deep dive after some pretty good numbers, not only from just people watching it normally, but for some reason, some Russian bot farms have really liked this video. uh, bringing back Calhoun, bringing back Link Calhoun for some Masters talk, and we're gonna do it a day early. I hate doing golf talk on a Wednesday night. It doesn't have a lot of evergreen, to it. You either have to watch it live or listen to it in the evening. The Masters, yeah. So we're gonna do it a day early. We're gonna do the deep dive tomorrow, normal time, 7 p.m. Central, 8 Eastern, with Link Calhoun talking betting, golf, life. He's got a new dog. We're going to talk some DFS. We'll talk some rainmakers, anything we want to talk about. But real quick, let's take a look at the top of the board, which are ridiculous if you want to bet Rory. Rory's lower at some places. There's 6-1s on Rory, which is not a bet you should make. This guy doesn't win Masters. It's not what he does. Honestly, probably the same for Rahm. I'm not sure. He's great. It has 18 tee boxes and 18 flags, so it's a course fit for him, but it's not the best fit for him just in general against an elite field. I'm not so sure I like him either here. So I'd look further down the board and I'd shop, because Morikawa 25, there's 35s out there.
You've already bet
some of these other numbers you can really shop around and find some decent numbers. It feels like it shouldn't be the case on a week like this, but it definitely is, especially now on Monday. I suppose the biggest story on the odds board moving, there's probably two. Corey Connors denied someone an automatic entry. He was already in the field. If somebody who's not in the field wins the Valero Texas Open last week, they get to go to the Masters. Connors actually did that himself for his first Augusta when he won this 5 years ago. Nobody was able to do that, as Connors was already in the field, and his odds took a little bit of a bump, probably too far. I don't think he wins the Masters, but his odds dropped. And also Brooks Koepka went out and looked like a decent golfer for 3 straight days at the Live Orlando, and everybody and their sister went and jumped on the Brooks. Yeah,
you got to.
I don't have a bet right now. I'm probably going to be in on Finau at the price.
You've bet more.
I do want to have a conspiracy theory for anyone who watched Full Swing. It's the golf version of Drive to Survive, or the tennis one. What's the tennis school one? Breakpoint?
Match Point?
Match Point? I don't remember what it's called, but conspiracy theory for anyone who watched Full Swing. There's like a whole episode where Brooks is basically depressed about, like, hey, golf is hard. It broke my brain. I started to play bad. All the pressure broke me. Look where I am now. I'm not any good anymore. This is all I think about. I'm sad. This is the closet with the swing in it that I come to cry in. And I don't know, my conspiracy theory is maybe that was all just a setup, like a full Kaiser Soze. All of a sudden, where he starts walking straight, all of a sudden Brooks starts hitting it straight.
Anytime a man bleaches his hair, you have to be concerned about his mental well-being. Yeah.
The puka shell necklace look was a little rough, but I'm here for it. I'm not going to bet on him. The numbers
ebbs and
way
flows,
too depressed.
Ups and downs.
Yeah, I'm here for it. Where he was just kind of like playing possum, and now he's back. And it'll be so wild if a live guy wins, because fucking Greg Norman will be so insufferable. But I'm here for it. I'm here for excitement. So let's go, Brooksy. I want to see you back.
It would be fun. I'll have to find a price on Brooks and have just a little sprinkle, because you got to have a part of that, right?
Yeah, and he did always play well in bigger events. That's kind of was his shtick for like a year and a half there. It's like, man, this guy just cranks it up for majors. So hopefully we see that. I just like to see good golfers play good golf. I want to see a lot of it this week. I'll have my bets out. Probably I'm going to settle on 2 or 3 outrights this afternoon. I don't have any good futures. Congrats to anyone who grabbed big numbers on Cam Young. I know our friend Dwayne has a good price on him and Homa. Those had come down quite a bit. So good job to you. I'll have some futures out this week. Speaking of, there's no NBA today. They have doffed their caps to the amateurs and said, let's not try to compete against the national title game, especially when there's some games that would be like oh man, nobody's watching this anyway. Like, what's the Brinks thing? Like, you could play this basketball game in their backyard and they're not watching it. It's so bad because you have some teams that are out or just resting players. So it's maybe not the worst call. And then we get a bunch of basketball for the rest of the week as we finish the season up here.
It's a sprint. Every team's got about 3 or 4 games left. We've got a huge slate tomorrow, a big slate on Wednesday, giant slate on Friday, and then Sunday, April 9th. This Sunday is the last day of the regular season finally. And thought we'd take a break quickly and talk about, we thought about taking a look at the awards. I think the awards are mostly wrapped up at this point. MVP, I don't know if it's Embiid. I don't know if it's Jokic. Again, you could make worse bets than Giannis at 7-1 at this point, but it feels like it's Embiid or Jokic, and I wouldn't touch Embiid at minus 250. I wouldn't be interested in Jokic at plus 240. So hopefully you've got everything buttoned up there. Rookie of the year, with all due respect, everybody pumping Jalen Williams and Walker Kessler and all that stuff. Banchero is going to win. That's done. Sixth man of the year again. Most improved. Market at a big favorite. I think the SGA bet may have petered out since he's missed more games than market in here down the stretch. So we'll see, but I think it's probably market in there. Sixth man of the year quickly just continues to get more and more. Bet more and more each and every day, and that makes sense. Again, New York media vote. He is the only guy that has really been exciting as sixth man this year, so I think he's got that. Defensive player of the year continues to waffle back and forth. Hopefully for our Jaren Jackson Jr. bets, there's a little bit of late steam on him holds, and he gets to win there. That's the only one that feels like a toss-up, but again, you're not betting Brook Lopez at plus 110. But there were markets to make the playoffs here, and this is after the play-in tournament as we made. So I went through and started to look at some scenarios, Andy, because basically what you're getting here for some of these teams is kind of a two-team parlay, basically. The way the play-in works, 7 plays 8, the winner of that game is in. 8 plays the winner of the 9-10 game. If 8 wins that game, they move in. So as you start to look at it, things are starting to settle up here a bit more. The Mavericks are 1 game back at the 10 seed now. Oklahoma City owns the tiebreaker there. It's not that the Mavericks can't make the playoffs, but I think they're kind of done at this point unless something crazy happens. The Lakers, half a game back from the 5, half a game back from the 6, tied with the Pelicans there with the tiebreaker. That's kind of an interesting spot. I thought about maybe a Pelicans no bet at plus 200, but as I started to look at some of the scenarios, they could still sneak up to 6, and they've got a couple easy games here. I think we'll just do better fading the Pelicans once we get to play-in time. But one team that I think, again, is still being underpriced in the market for some reason, looks like they're locked into the play-in, and I like the price we're going to get here at plus 750. I think we're going to do much better on this than we will kind of the rolling 2-game parlay here. Give me the Oklahoma City Thunder plus 750 to make the playoffs after the play-in tournament. And again, as I look at the standings, this just looks kind of me like a 2-game parlay of them beating the team at 9 and then beating the loser that 7-8 game. So with all due respect to your Minnesota Timberwolves here, Andy, I have the Timberwolves at home favored over the Thunder, but not in a big way. I mean,
what, like by 2?
I got 2.5 basically, which, you're looking at a money line of around minus 140, minus 150 maybe at that point. And then so if they could win that game, it'll be plus 125-ish or something in that game as an underdog. You move into the next game, either the Lakers or the Pelicans. And again, both of those teams, a little bigger favorites than I have the Timberwolves, but you're only looking at a range of maybe 4.5. I think if the Lakers come out of that first game and blow the Pelicans out, maybe they come in as 5-point favorites. Everyone's juiced on them, but again, you're looking at a parlay. I think in real life, what's going to be like plus 125, plus 180ish. You put the two of those together, you're only looking at 5.5 to 1.
Yeah,
so
I was going to say
plus 750
plus
here.
500, and the Timberwolves just in general have, I don't know, like, was Naz Reid that important? I mean, he was a really big piece. He was starting to add in multiple stat categories. He was having a good year, and he's certainly not coming back anytime soon. Just, it's been kind of a really messy roller coaster year for my Timberwolves. And like I said, my dog ate my Timberwolves hat, so season's over anyway.
It's a bad sign.
Like, I don't want to go to a playoff game now. I'd have to buy another hat. And they're just so expensive at the arena.
So let's go Thunder. Yeah. And I forget who told us Thunder to make the play-in tournament at like plus 250. Kudos.
Yeah, let's go Thunder. I can cheer for them. There was a fun chart, Twitter. I don't know. I won't be able to actually give people the proper credit, but somebody had a good tweet about that. It was like average age of your starters, and it was San Diego State and than some NBA teams because they do have some super seniors. And yeah, the Thunder was like a year and a half younger on average than San Diego State. They are kind of building something down there. And I think I don't know if would you agree they have like a pretty decent coach in place. They have a nice little nucleus and they're probably going to
Yeah,
end up with some more capital here. So it's kind of fun after, you know, just how disappointing, I guess. They're that was like one of the original super teams, man. That one just kind of fell into place organically, and they just
that was the
didn't
best
do it.
super team. That's what
It was
everybody hopes and prays for when they try to tank. Like everyone's like, but look at Oklahoma City. They had Durant and Harden and Westbrook when he was still useful at Ibaka. Like, it's not everyone can do that. I mean,
that
that's a
yeah
magic
that
potion down there.
Western Conference Finals, the Thunder Warriors was just so good. So I kind of cheer. They're like a secondary team I cheer for to get that shit back because they deserve better. Let's go Thunder. Thunder. Oh,
Fun to
that's
cheer for a
stupid.
team too that's the only team in their state. There is no hockey team. There is no baseball team. There is no football team. There's just the Thunder.
No, it's the Sooners
Plus,
in
it's a
this.
great
So
Prince song.
yeah, let's go Oklahoma City. And then, yes, as mentioned, as you can see, if you're watching, we have not only the page pool sign up is ready, but the field is set. So if you were to go sign up last week, you wouldn't have actually been able to pick your golfers. The field is set, the tournament's ready. You can go in and pick your golfers. So if you go enter this, the link will be in the show notes. The link will be in the YouTube show notes. Go click on that link. It helps us out. Basically, if we can continue to drive some good engagement and get a lot of people over to sign up for this contest, it's going to help us to put together some really good contests for the NFL, like some big survivor leagues, some other contests around the NFL. We're able to give some good prizes. So do me a favor, sign up for that. It's free. You can win a golf trip to head out to Liberty National, play around with Paige. We'll put you up in a hotel, fly you there round trip, no matter where you're from, except Canada. US only, guys.
Oh,
Let's not
snap.
get yeah.
Kelly
I
can't
feel
win.
bad.
That's
I
too
feel
bad.
bad for Canada. There's so many laws about giveaways in Canada that we just have to be like, whatever. Legal says stick to America. So sign up, it's
Come on
free.
down. You just have to get rid of free healthcare, but it's basically the same.
Yeah. So catch you guys tomorrow.